Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Harrison, and we welcome you all to the February 26, 2024 regular meeting of the Brattleboro Housing Partnership that's being held on Zoom, starting at 4:30 p.m. So I'll call to order. And has everybody read the minutes from the
Yes.
last meeting? Good. And does anybody have any corrections, questions, anything? Okay, may I have a motion to accept the accept the minutes?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from January 8th, 2024 meeting.
Very good. I'll second the motion.
Wonderful. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you so much. I don't believe we have any citizen participation today. Did anybody come to your office, Christine?
No one's
Okay,
here.
fine. Okay, that's fine. Our staff reports. The 2023 annual report for the town of Brattleboro, that was very well written and nicely presented. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? Okay.
I just really appreciated the summary. It's helpful to see that all in one place.
Yes, it was very well done. Very well
Yeah,
written.
so much work being done.
Yeah.
So much success.
I assume Christine wrote that.
Yes. Yeah.
Looks like your
Thanks.
work.
Yep.
Great. We have the executive director's report.
So I guess the question about the annual report is then who does this go to?
It goes to the town meeting. So it's for town meeting. It's the annual
Okay.
report that's submitted for all the town meeting officers. And it's a report to the town as well. So the select board receives it as well as all the town meeting officers. So it's completed in January. It's my favorite, thing for the new year because you get an opportunity to really talk about all the work we've done, and I forget sometimes all the things that we've done, so it was nice to put it in one place. And then we don't get a lot of feedback. I hope people read it. But yeah, it's small print, which is hard because we try to keep it in a small document, but hopefully I think a lot of people, I don't know, Gary, maybe you would know, do you get them sent to you ahead of time, or is it a hard copy, or is it something that's sent online?
I basically, unless I go into the website, I don't get it mailed or anything like that other than what we get from our packet that we get mailed to us.
I think there was a typo in the payment standards.
Oh, okay.
The dollar amounts don't look right.
Oh, under 4-bedroom. Oh, yeah, I can see there's
Maybe an extra one.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. That was copying. Yeah, I'd have to go in and look, but thank you. Yep, I see that. Yeah, that would be a huge payment standard. I didn't catch it, so thank you.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you, Michelle, for catching that.
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All right. Anything else we want to ask Christine about the executive director report?
Well
Okay.
written.
Yes, always well written. Yes. Property review and property manager report. First of all is the write-offs. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The total is 43,646.19. And does anybody have any questions about those? We know that this is fairly routine. Yeah.
Well, you can,
Okay.
I mean, if you want to just see, these are so some of these, which were, if you can see the leases that were terminated for non-payment, these aren't small amounts.
Right.
So it really goes to show that once somebody, it takes a lot to get to that point. For a for a small, for the A.W. Richards, it was a studio apartment, so it was a low payment standard. So to get to that 3,562, that's a substantial amount of time to be behind. Hayes Court 7,000, 234, Moore Court as well. And then if you look at the Ledgewood 22,000, these are huge amounts that
That's right.
that are behind. So I know that's something that the board has had a lot of concern about, and these are just really, really big deficits by the time people, by the time we terminate a lease for non-payment. This isn't, there's a lot of trying before we get there. So, but some of these are, as you can see, are just really, really large amounts.
Well, we all know how hard Brattleboro Housing Partnership tries to help people catch up and make a plan and work with them. Yeah. So, okay. So may I have a potential, a motion to approve the write-off of $43,646.19 for the 5 properties?
A motion that we approve?
Yes.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand. Thanks. Good.
I'm
Okay.
lagging a little bit in my camera. I don't know if I should just turn because it's like slow motion.
That's all right. Okay. The Wellness and Service Report. First of all, is SASH, flash, and newsletters, and they're always wonderfully written. Yes. So does anybody have any comments, questions?
I know there's been some illness amongst the staff, so Sam Elliott's going to go full speed ahead starting in March, but because of illness, it was at a standstill. I guess most of your staff must have been out sick.
We had at one point, we had 8 people that were out for more than a week at one time. So it was, we're a small staff, so that was really substantial. I think in the last month, we've had several people that have needed to take at least 1 to 2 weeks off with the flu and different things. So it has been pretty, sometimes it feels a little bit like last man standing in here because the people who are left are really held, we're holding all the cards. So it is hard, and it really hit the supportive services staff. It kind of hit all of them at once, which was a lot for the team. So, but it feels like everyone, knock on wood, is back and people are starting to feel better. And, we've had a full staff today, so, which we haven't had in over a month. So that was good.
Yeah, I told the tenants, I says, don't worry. I says, everybody's sick. So
Yeah.
they're going to feel sick. When you really start building up, it's a whammo, but then after it did come back to work, a lot of paperwork. So you have to explain because people they forgot us. So
I know.
today I was speaking at so they're going to go full speed ahead.
Well, it's good that they feel like they have really connected with some of those staff, so they really notice now when they're not there. That's great.
I was absolutely overjoyed to see all the graphs.
I knew you would, Michelle.
I love that. And so are those from Matt?
Those are from Matt. So that's from the LEAP program, the Learning Employment Academic Program. And he has the new software that we got, Apricot, which it's really about measuring social service programs. And so, there's lots scary. But it's, yeah, it has been really good. And I got a little bit of feedback about it. So that top graph that you'll see with the different colors, that is tied to the amounts on the bottom, or not the amounts, but the categories on the bottom. So, looking at what the most, when he meets with people about their work plans and what they want to work on, out of the participants, 16 said that they wanted to work on housing related issues, which was the highest one. The colors are kind of hard for me to tell the difference of sometimes, so I clarified. So 16 out of the total was really wanting to work on housing. Next, 13 was about employment. And then, other categories that were significant were around education and training. So I thought that was really interesting. And then the next graph down is just really showing, so the number of people potentially like in the program. 78% have not signed up yet as of the first quarter. And then they were still working on the second quarter, but we're already seeing 17 have signed up for each of those quarters. And then if you look at the next page, that large amount are just the people who are really eligible and required to be in the program that haven't signed up yet. But you can see that we have some people that have signed up, and even some people who are on disability have asked to be on the program because they would like to work somewhat. And so that was that is something that was really interesting as well.
Thank you. I was looking for that little walkthrough. Thank you.
Yeah, I needed it too. Like when I went to review it, I wasn't sure really. So they talked me through, but that's helpful. But I think we'll see, as we're really, getting this program up and running, I'm hopeful to see more and more of that data being pulled. So that will be really helpful.
Excellent. Any more comments or questions on that?
So that 17 for the first quarter, would it be the same 17 individuals for the second quarter as well?
No, I think that was
Are they new?
17. Yeah, new 17.
Okay.
So if you look at the last page, when you look at that, it was 17 the first one and then 17. Just coincidentally, it's the same number. So
okay, so it's all new people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think total it's 34 participants. Yeah.
Anything else?
So as we're going, we're really starting to think ahead. We had applied for funding for a second coordinator because we're really wanting to have over 100 participants in this program. And so we need a second coordinator, and HUD had frozen the program. So we had applied, but they didn't allocate additional funds. So we applied for a different program, which is called ROS, which is Resident Supportive Services, with the hope that even though it wouldn't be doing the same work, it could be doing some work like co-working so that it would support him in other ways. And we're also looking at, what it could look like to bring it, maybe splitting a position to give him a little bit more support for the program until we're able to apply from HUD for another coordinator.
Great.
Any other questions? All right. So, Gary, did you have a question? I thought I heard before.
I think Gary left. I think he left the meeting. He hasn't come back. I don't see him in the waiting room yet.
Okay. All right. So the DRHO SASH annual report. It was very nice to have that. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the report that we submit to the grant for being the designated regional housing organization for the whole program through Windham and Windsor County. So it's not just about our program, but we oversee the grant funding for those other SASH programs. And so this reports out on all of them together.
Okay. The HCB Administrator Housing Choice Voucher Program, Shelter Plus Care and Report. Anybody have any questions about those? Okay. Um, the financial review, the December 23rd comparables. Anybody have any questions about those? None? Okay.
Just to put on everyone's radar, so we're working on the budget for next year. So let me get Gary in before I, hold on. Hold on. The budget will begin, so our fiscal year budget for BHA will start April 1st, 2024. It runs from April to March. We're in the process of creating that budget right now for next year. So that will be reviewed at your next meeting. And a couple of things for us to think about when we're doing this is we've been thinking a little bit about salary increases because we didn't increase salaries last year, even though the board generously approved a bonus at the end of the calendar year. We'll also be thinking a little bit we'll be looking at our legal costs. Our legal costs are really, really high. You'll see, looking at the comparable, we went over budget for that pretty substantially at this point. We had estimated 36,000. We're at 51,000 for that. So just something to be thinking about. Another thing to be thinking about will be so the Section 8 program, if you look at the monthly comparable and you look at let's see, Section 8, we continue on there. Section 8 is on page 7. So it looks like we really went over budget. That's actually not a bad thing. That's a good thing. We want to use more money in the Section 8 program because we have money in that program. And so when we're utilizing that money, it means that our payment standards have gone up, that we're able to pay ourselves more, we're able to pay our landlords more, and that we're utilizing more Section 8 money in the community. So that's not a bad thing. I just want to put that out there because it shows up as an expense. So it can really throw off the overall end number. But it's really like a good thing. We want to be able to get more money from Section 8, meaning we want to pay ourselves more for our rental assistant payments, and we want to pay our landlords more, and we want to have a higher utilization. So it's just one thing to be aware of when you're looking at expenses. That is a significant difference on the budget, on the comparable, but it's not a bad thing for us because we end up getting the money back in the end. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so we'll be looking at that a little bit when we go into the, and when we're looking at the budget. The other thing we'll be looking at is because we've restructured the LEAP program, it used to be a different, we applied for MTW to restructure it a little bit. We want to be able to offer some scholarships through that program for people who are meeting their goals. And so we'll want to build that into the budget as well. So those are just a few things to start thinking of. Another thing to look at for the comparable is we just recently received our payments for some of our SASH for All program. It had been held for some time. And so that looks like it's in a deficit. It's actually not. We're going to see a big push. We're going to see more money coming in that department. And we've been working with legislators and spending a lot of time on talking about the SASH for All program. We received money from M&T Bank recently, a huge grant of $400,000, which was really exciting. So that was nice to be able to go to legislators and say, here's, this organization really believes that this is a vital program to keeping people housed. And so the ask of the legislators for next year's budget is $300,000. And so we're really hopeful. So far, it's already made it past the first stage, which we found out today. So we're really hopeful that will be in the budget. So just a couple of things to keep an eye on. Like some things might look a little less positive, but in some ways that they're actually going in the other direction. So that's good. Legal costs, I'm not as positive about. I would love to get that number down, not just because I don't want to spend money on legal, but also because, you know, we know how that impacts our families. And so we've really come up with we're starting to work on before COVID, we had a pretty good rental program about how, you know, working with property managers on how to incentivize, try to get more rents, try to be on top of the rents and working with folks. When COVID hit, people were so far behind that we really just had the supportive services working with them. We're at the place now where we're starting to get back to where we need to be. And so we're coming up with another plan to get the property managers able to really give really minute by minute information to residents so that we can really make sure that they are aware of how much they owe and following up right early as opposed to when people get really far behind. So hopefully that will decrease the legal costs, because I would far rather spend that money on something else than legal, right? So
I agree. There's also a lot of materials and supplies. Looks like that's costly too.
Yeah, that is. And so that can be a lot of different things. It's hard to like break it out. I think that's something that I need to talk to James about, but I think a lot of that is under the maintenance is, you know, what are those things that we've had some big ticket items this past year, you know, so things like, you know, we had to buy a trailer, we needed to put a deposit on a new truck, you know, those are things that really will show up as big ticket items. Yeah. We also put a lot of money down on the playground. We haven't reimbursed ourselves yet. So we'll talk about that a little more when we get to BHOI, but the playground is it's going to cost over $100,000. We've already raised over $90,000, which is super exciting through BHOI. You know, we haven't paid ourselves back. So there are some things that we have front loaded. We're also looking to get reimbursed for some of the flood mitigation work. So there are some things that just haven't cleared on that side as well. So those items could definitely be throwing off the materials.
Makes sense. Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Well, I'm back without camera because if I use the camera, it's going to kick me out again. So
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah,
it's
we're
not
back
working
here.
with me today.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. We're doing financials. Okay. You've seen the check listing. Anybody have any questions about the check listing? Okay. Check assignments, March, it's Pat.
Yes,
Yeah,
all set.
great. So, I'm not able to take April. It's kind of my turn. If anybody wants to volunteer for April.
I can double up if you want, do the 2 months. I'm not doing anything March and April.
Oh, wonderful, Pat.
I'll go through March. I'll write me a note.
Okay, great. You can change your mind at the next meeting.
No,
We'll put you down.
June's the month. It might be iffy, so.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Progress in progress. Melrose Terrace redevelopment review, statement of work and development. Overview.
So Michelle, Commissioner Wright, and myself and Chris Hart reviewed, so I should back up a little bit. I met with M&S Development, who had been the contractor that we chose to be our development, to offer development oversight and guidance for the property. And so Michelle, myself, and Chris Hart met to review their scope of work. And I just wanted to give you a copy. We have signed off on this. We reviewed it. It really does a nice job if you look at the project development overview of breaking it down by stage. I think that could be really helpful for the commissioners to sort of know where the project is. Right now we're in the first stage, which is financial feasibility. So it's really about them diving in and looking at the project and then figuring out how we are going to fund it. how we're going to pay for it. And then once we have that understanding, like where, for instance, if we're going to apply to certain tax credits, if it's a historical, if we can get some sort of historical preservation money, all of the different pieces, they'll put that together for review. And then the group will come back together again and talk and then bring information back to the board. So we're really in the early stages. We've sort of halted on anything design wise until we have a better understanding of what we really can, what's really feasible for the property. And in doing this, they're thinking a lot about the other properties that we have. So thinking about Moore Court and Hayes Court and how those will also be, thinking about them as also needing to be either redeveloped or really updated. So thinking about how, as we plan for Melrose, what those other two projects, where that would lie as well. Big long-term goals,
Yeah.
but really important pieces.
A lot
Yes.
on the
I don't know if
horizon.
you want to add anything, Michelle, to any of that.
Well, that was really great. I think the thing that's the most exciting is the second section, where I think it's the second section. Let me just put my hands on it here. That second part, it's dated January 23rd, 2024, where the developer is sort of thinking long range, like what would it be to develop Melrose, and then to move folks in there, and then to redesign and redevelop the Hayes Court area and the Moore Court area. It's more than just Melrose, and that's important for the board to understand. Yeah.
Yes. I was very excited to read those.
Right, quite an undertaking when you got 3 units and all, 3 units and all, really. So it's really going to be quite an undertaking.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think the hard part is like we have to plan long term like this, because if we don't, when we really need it, let's say in 7 years, 10,
Right.
these pieces need to be in place. We need to start planning now, even though this work might not, I don't want residents to get nervous, like, this is going to happen tomorrow at Hayes Court. But if we don't start planning this, then when we really need it, we won't be ready for it. And I think we're at the point where we don't necessarily need it right now, but it's getting to the point where those buildings have been past their useful life in many ways. And we really do need to think about how we want to redevelop them in the future, whether it's this board or the next board or, the next, we have to lay the foundation for the future of the organization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions, comments? All right. The SASH for All project pilot, the 6-month report.
Yeah, I just put this in because, because the SASH for All program is still a pilot program. I just thought it was important for you to see sort of what the grant deliverables look like and some of those numbers, which are, I think, really wonderful. Just the number of, 55 referrals were made to 23 participants. And just, sort of what the majority of those referrals were for financial. And I thought that was an interesting number.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the 80 full-time, 80 adults are enrolled. That's not including families. So then 73 families, which is really interesting, as 73 children outside of that. And then I don't think it has it here, but they had there was also just programming. They've offered so many programs on the sites, which has been really, really great to see.
You've done a wonderful job on that.
Mm-hmm. It's a really cool program. I'm excited to see if it, if it gets into be replicated around the state. It's just been a
Right.
lot of fun to be able to have the, privilege and responsibility to get to host, to do it here. And it's just getting a lot of feedback all over the state. People really want to see it where they are. So, some of the staff have worked really, really hard on this, and not just to run the program, but to do it in a way that's really mindful that they're learning from the program and how to do it in other places. And so it's really like two jobs. It's like, not only are you doing the work with the participants, but you're also learning how to create something and then duplicate it in other places, which is like almost like two jobs. So I'm really grateful for their hard work.
All right. The financial statement for Brattleboro Housing Opportunities. Anybody have any questions?
So if you'll see on the back side of the lighter green, which one is it? So since this time, so we had the 29,000 plus the 25,000. Since then, we also received an additional, did I put it in my notes? I just don't want to misspeak. We received an additional 35,000 recently from the A.D. Henderson Foundation. So that brings us to over 90,000. That didn't make it into the report for the BHOI because we haven't gotten it yet. But yeah, that's really exciting. That was
Very
huge.
exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
They came out and they met with SASH for all, and they met with the LEAP program, and they talked to them about the playground when they came out and saw it. And so they were that was a huge bump, 39,000.
Right.
So at
Wow.
this point,
what is A.D. Henderson? Do you know anything about it?
I do. All I know is that they serve, and Jeanette said that they serve, I know that they serve two communities, and I know one of them is Vermont, and one of them she said was Florida, but I thought it was Boston, but I could be wrong. But she said it was Florida, but they are a foundation, and it's specifically around health around children. And so they had a representative that came out and met with staff, and they really talked about the importance of having this at the site. And we had originally asked for a little bit less, and then they granted us even more. So, yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really, really exciting.
Absolutely.
And so at this point, because we're on a roll, we have a few more grants in the process where, we're not counting our chickens before they hatch, but we're thinking a little bit about more court and how if we continue to raise money, then we would be redoing some of the playground at more court as well. So we'll just keep going in that direction. And just so everyone's aware, I know I mentioned it in my board report, but we had been really, looking for someone to help us steer the BHOI board and to get new membership and to sort of help in that capacity. And Constantine von Krusenstern has committed to being on the board to help us through that process. And so that has been really great. And his knowledge of how to do this type of development has been really, really valuable. So we're excited to work with him. And we have a couple of other people. Alicia had helped us to come up with a list of potential people to reach out to. So we've shortlisted it, and we're in the process of trying to get additional members. So
wonderful.
Yeah. Especially now that we're getting all this money, and it's important. I think that it'll be easier now since we've been having so much success. It might be easier to get people on that.
Any other questions, comments on this topic? All right. Thank you so much for everybody's hard work on this and all the grants. And Alicia, you've really been key in that. Thank you so much. All right. So now we have I need a motion to enter into executive session.
Motion that we enter into executive session.
Thank you. A second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let me get my little hand up there. Hold on. There we go.